Okay, hi everyone. I'm Jas Purwal. I'm the director of the world's biggest analog. And as promised, I am going to record a video of the answers to your questions. So we had a form where you could ask us anything, and that's ended today. And so I'm going to go through the questions that were asked and try and do my best to answer those questions. So the first question is, can the mission be sponsored? Yes, it absolutely can be sponsored. If you are interested in sponsoring the mission, then drop an email. There is a contact email on the main website. That's worldsbiggestanalog.com. But you can also email admin@goldvisor.com. That's GOLDVIZOR. If you can find me on things like LinkedIn as well, I can answer your questions there as well. So it's Jas Purwal, P-U-R-E-W-A-L. We very much would be interested in sponsors for the mission. Next question is, has requested a private response, but there is there is part of it that I can read out that is relevant. So is being a diverse and multicultural species something you are looking for in your program? Very much so. If you have some research or anything related to that, we do still have an open research call. The research call will be open until the end of this month, until the end of November 2024. And again, the link to how to submit your research is on the main World's Biggest Analog page, worldsbiggestanalog.com. Are there any studies on how a blood transfusion would be conducted in the event of a medical emergency during an interstellar journey, or on the possibility of transporting blood components? This is especially relevant considering the loss of red blood cells that the human body experiences in space. That's absolutely like a fantastic research project. There have been hundreds of research projects submitted to the World's Biggest Analog, to WBA for short. Of those, we've narrowed the first application pool down to 34 research projects. This is not one of them. And we still have the open research call for our second group. That call is open until the end of this month. I would really encourage you, if you're interested in this topic, to submit a research proposal, and we can conduct this study depending on the requirements. We may well be able to conduct this study on the WBA mission. So thank you for asking that question. I think that's really interesting. Another question was, can you provide more details about the mission itself? So yes, I absolutely can. Again, there's a fair bit of detail on the main website, worldsbiggestanalog.com. We are in the process of updating that website. So hopefully before the end of this year, there should be a lot more information on the website. But in short, the WBA mission is a 2-week-long mission, and it's going to be carried out in October 2025. It will be carried out across all the world's analog habitats, so the existing habitats and new up-and-coming habitats as well. So it's really like the largest mission of its kind. Something like this has never been done before. So we're really learning as we're going, and we've already learned lots in just the preparation phase of this as well. Can I apply to be a crew member? You can. And so we do currently have an open crew call. The crew call is open until, I believe, the end of this year. I'm just going to check the dates for you on that. Again, the link to apply to that is on the worldsbiggestanalog.com webpage. And the deadline to apply is the 15th of December. Okay, so you can still apply to be a crew member from the 15th of December. I did also have a question here from somebody who is under the age of 18 who is interested in being a crew member. Unfortunately, we can't take people under the age of 18 for this first World's Biggest Analog mission. If we can figure out how to do that if we have future missions, World's Biggest Analog missions, then we'll try and definitely do that. One of the things that we're trying to do is make this as inclusive as possible. So we're working on things like that. But this is the first time around. We're trying to keep things as simple as possible, make it as manageable as possible as well. how did the world's biggest analog come about? Okay, so this is really an idea I had back in 2021. So we'd just done the first ever analog astronaut conference. It was the virtual conference back in 2021. And that had been successful. And so I was working on the in-person conference that we have every year in Arizona. And I'd actually only just discovered what analogs were in 2020 myself. And I realized through conversations with the community how much good work was being done and good research was coming out of these missions, but also how little awareness there is about analogs. So, so basically one of the things I wanted to do was raise more awareness. And in order to do that, I thought we should do something big. So we'd shown that we could all come together as a community through the online community and the conference. And so now the next step, logical step, seemed to be let's work together. So I wanted to do, like I said, something really big and to show as many people as possible, showcase kind of what analogs are capable of. So at the 2022 in-person conference, I posed the question, imagine money was no object, there are no constraints, don't think realistically about this, just imagine you could do anything. What kind of analog mission would you want to run? What would you do? And I got lots of answers back and some really creative, interesting answers. But the common theme throughout it all was to do like a networked mission with all the different habitats, or like a collaborative mission. So that got me thinking that, well, in the not too distant future, we're going to have a permanent human presence on the moon, so permanent human presence in space already. But it won't just be space agencies, it will be private companies and different types of organizations from all around the globe. So how are these different types of organizations going to live and work together and collaborate in the hostile environment of space? And I always like to think of the analogy with Antarctica. So currently we have different nations in Antarctica all cooperating and collaborating. So envisioning a similar scenario initially on the moon and then eventually on Mars as well. So really the world's biggest analog answers that question, or it attempts to take the first steps into answering the question of how are we going to live and work on the moon and Mars as a community. And so at the heart of that is collaborative research. So that really is the core of the world's biggest analog mission, conducting collaborative research. And then also this outreach component, so raising awareness of what analogs can do. But there's also many, many additional benefits to this as well. Like doing a global platform like this enables us to implement certain protocols so that we have better standards for research as well, making the data that's collected from that research available to other researchers. So we're creating a centralized database that will enable that to happen. And also having these standards and protocols in place will make the research more useful to space agencies and other researchers as well. But yeah, going back to, that was kind of how the world's biggest analog idea was born. And then I just kind of like, so I had that vision, and then the next thing really was to kind of get a team of volunteers together, get all the habitats on board, which thankfully they were. I think everybody could see the benefit of this collaborative opportunity and doing something like this that's never been done before, and giving us the chance to, so when humans go into space, they take their problems with them. But this kind of gives us the opportunity to really think about maybe creating better communities in space rather than taking those problems with us. So maybe if we plan ahead and we think about these issues, maybe we can create those better communities. So that's really how the world's biggest analog came to be. Let me just look some more. So there's a few questions here that will want a private response, so I won't read those out. Oh yeah, how can you get involved in other ways? So yes, if you don't want to be a crew member or you don't have research that you wish to submit, the other way to get involved is, there's a few ways actually. So we're always looking for volunteers. The WBA project is entirely volunteer run. So we're looking for volunteers in all areas. Specifically at the moment, we could use help on the research team. We can also use help on the education team. So I just put out a post looking for hackathon volunteers, and luckily got a good response. So we are looking to create a hackathon as leading up to the WBA mission as well, where we can have like an interactive education session with students. So that's one of the education programs projects. We have a couple of other ideas under the education team as well. So we've got creating some online content. We have the hackathon, and then we also have, if we manage to pull it off, fingers crossed, a Minecraft plugin game. So gamifying things and making it really, hopefully, fun and interesting to learn about analogs for people. Yeah, so there's a question about outreach. On the outreach side of things, what we're aiming for is to, aside from social media, and that's another great way to get involved. We definitely could use help on the outreach and the social media side of things, if anybody has those skills. So there is a volunteer form that you can submit your interest in. Again, that's on the main World's Biggest Analog webpage. But yeah, so for the outreach side of things, in addition to those things I just mentioned, we are hoping to get published in wide-reaching media outlets as much as possible. So trying to reach a wider audience. So if there are any like magazines, high-profile magazines that we could get the WBA mission project published in, that's one of the goals. In addition to maybe either creating our own documentary web series, or if we're able to, although this is proving very challenging, is to create a WBA documentary, like an official WBA documentary. That would be an incredible way to reach a much, much wider audience. So yeah, so that's some of the outreach goals that we currently have. Yeah, and I think those are the main questions. So thank you so much for submitting your questions. And like I said, you can always reach us through the website. You can reach me through LinkedIn if you have any further questions. But otherwise, I'll leave it there.